Today, we're going through one disadvantage of every DPS in Overwatch 2. Let's get into it. So first off, we have Ashe. And the main problem with Ashe, really, is that she's not really the best at one thing. What I mean when I say that is that she can't snipe the best, right? Like, she's always going to lose in a sniper duel to a Widow. Because, yeah, might be able to two-shot her, but the Widow has further range ADS, so as you can see, way better at range. And also, she can just one-shot you to the head, so you can't be the Widow in the 1v1. And then if you're closer up, you need a hit scan, well then just get in the Cassidy. Cassidy's just going to murder you at close range. So what is the Ashe really going to do? That's the problem. And the main problem with Bastion really is still going to be how easy it is to just target and take out, right? So in Overwatch 1, obviously he was just sat still in his sentry form, right? But now you can move around. However, you are still quite slow, and you're a really big target, so you can still get caught out really easily. And despite having high damage, if you get targeted, then you're going to die very fast. And so with Cassidy, he's obviously going to be the best hit scan, really, for closer quarters combat, right? Because he can just really hit you for a lot of damage up close. But the issue with him, really, when I compare him to other hit scans, like say a Sojourn, is really going to be his lack of movement, right? Because that roll there, it's just not really enough. Sojourn can slide across the map and then jump up onto high ground. What can Cassidy do? Oh wow, he rolled 2 meters. Amazing. Now, similarly to Pharah, which we're going to get onto later, the main part about Echo, really, is just how vulnerable she is when she's in the air, right? So in some lower ranks, it might be quite hard for people to actually hit you when you're flying up, but once you get higher up there, people are just going to be playing hit scans, and they're just going to be murdering you mid-air, and there's just not much you can do about it because you're just so out in the open and just such an easy target to hit whilst you're flying. The main problem you're going to have with Genji is going to be his high movement combined with his low HP pool, and so you might say that his high movement is really good, which in fairness it is, but you got to consider that this is going to mean that you're going to be in the enemy team's backline quite a lot and away from your team, especially at lower ranks when they might just dash into the backline. And so it's going to be really easy for you to get caught out. And with just 200 HP, you're going to die very fast. And so unless you're smart with it and play around your team and their protection, or go in diving with, say, a Winston, then you're just not going to be having a good time sometimes. So, the problem I have with Hanzo is really going to be that his arrows are projectile and not hit scan, right? So, obviously, similarly to Widow, he can one-shot people to the head. But, unlike Widow, his arrows are actually a projectile. And so, up close, they're still going to be hitting them pretty much instantly. But over a long distance, it's going to take quite a while for those arrows to hit. And so, you're going to be playing like a sniper occasionally. And you're just not really going to be able to do much in comparison to, say, a Widow. So you're really just going to need to line up your shots significantly better and predict the enemy movement, whereas a Widow can just shoot where they are at the time. When it comes to Junkrat, just like Hanzo, his shots here are going to be projectiles, right? They move a lot slower than Hanzo's even, and so it's going to be quite hard for you to hit them sometimes. Obviously these targets are just sat still, but usually it's going to be quite hard for you to hit your shots unless you're really good with Junkrat. But this does mean that you can spam down choke sometimes and just kill people before they even see the shots because they've just come around the corner and you've already shot before they're there. We're at main now, and I was going to say that a disadvantage was her projectile, but I think you're a bit tired of hearing me say that. So instead, I'm going to be talking about her primary fire, which of course is going to be this beam of ice, right? And it's not bad, to be fair. It's really easy to hit, and it does slow the enemy. But why I'm saying that it's a disadvantage is just going to be because of what it was like in Overwatch 1. Because in Overwatch 1, it completely froze people. Not only making them unable to move, but also unable to shoot. Now, they can still move, albeit slower, and they can still shoot. So it's just significantly less powerful than before. And now we're at Pharah, and we come back to what I said about Echo earlier. And with Pharah, you're going to be flying around a lot of the time. And so sometimes it's going to be more difficult for the enemy to hit you, but a lot of the time, if the enemy has a good hit scan on their team, and it's actually going to be really easy for them to kill you if you're not playing around cover properly. And with Pharah, it's even worse than Echo, because at least Echo can like dash around whilst in the air. With Pharah, you're really flying in straight lines for the most part. You may boot yourself away to get some more distance sometimes, but generally it's going to be really easy for you to die to hit scans. Now this seems kind of obvious, but the problem with Reaper is going to be his lack of range, right? So obviously going to be good up close, but due to him having shotguns, he's going to be doing absolutely no damage at range, right? And so just not really going to be doing anything. And that means that you need to have a team built around you which allow you to get in close to do that huge damage. But if you don't, and you're sat there spamming like this kind of damage, you're just not actually going to be adding anything to your team. On to Sojourn, and I actually found it really difficult to find something bad about Sojourn, just because she's so good at the moment. She's absolutely overpowered, because she can just absolutely murder people. But if there's one thing, it probably has to be that even though her railgun is hit scan, her primary fight isn't. And so against normal people it's not going to make much of a difference, because the projectile speed is quite fast. But against a flying character like a Pharah, or maybe an Echo as well, it's just going to make it that bit harder to hit them and kill them out of the sky. Obviously you can still railgun them, but that's just really what sets her apart from regular hit scans in my opinion. Now, Soldier actually really suffers from this thing about being a jack of all trades, right? And that means that he can actually do a lot of different things. He has some solid steady damage, he can heal himself, he can sprint, he has decent movement, and he has this bit of burst damage. But the issue with being a jack of all trades means that you're also the master of none. And so, whilst he is good all round, he's not really specializing in any one thing, and so in most situations, there's usually going to be at least one better character for what you're trying to do. And when it comes to Sombra, she can obviously go invisible, right? And this is a really powerful ability. However, it also means that you're going to be away from your team a lot, and therefore away from the fight, right? And so sometimes you can be able to pester that backline and get some kills. But a lot of the time, you're just not going to be with your team in the fight when they might need another person. And so occasionally it's just going to be a 4v5 for them. And that can be really detrimental to your team and winning the fight. Now the worst part about Symmetra is really just going to be how annoying she is. Now I'm obviously just joking, because that's obviously probably just an advantage. But in all seriousness, her main disadvantage is probably just how she's not really built for this 5v5 game that we're playing right now, right? So, Symmetra in the past has been a character that's really benefited from there being 2 tanks on the other team, since her beam charges up and does more damage the more you hit people, and this includes shields, right? So in past metas, where there's been 2 shields on the opposing team, she's just been able to have this beam charged up for age and do a load of damage. But now, if it's not charged up anymore, it's just not really going to be doing much, right? So that's the real main thing for me. And now with Torb, for me, it's got to be his lack of movement, right? And now, there are actually several characters in the game who don't have movement, but I think Torb suffers from it quite a lot. And this is just due to how tanky he is, otherwise, and how tanky he could be. Because he has all this health that you can get from the armor and the overload. He would just be really powerful if he could move around, but because he can't really, he's such an easy target to hit despite his small hitbox, and so it really prevents him from doing much at some times. Now with Tracer, it's got to be a low health pool, right? So obviously she can blink around, and she can just try and stay out of harm's way, maybe recall if she takes a bit of damage, but let's be real. That low health pool is really detrimental, and if you're facing, say, an Ashe, she can just one shot you in the head, and she just doesn't care. Like it's just no issue. So that's the real main thing for me. You don't even need to get one shot by a Widow, and Ashe will do the trick, or a Castian a punch. And finally we have Widow, the classic sniper. And obviously with being a sniper, her main disadvantage is going to be her close range fighting capabilities. Since she's a sniper and she has this huge long range damage, so in order to balance that, she doesn't really do much up close. And so this submachine gun can maybe do a little bit against these bots, but if you compare it to some characters and their up close damage, it's just not any good at all. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe, and maybe check out this video on the best part of every DPS in the game. See you next time.